I've had this car 4 years and the wipers have never worked, and I think they work now. So here's what I did from the start. The first thing I did was I pulled the 3-prong connector off of the bottom of the wiper motor. Make sure it's got 3 wires going to it. The one with 2 wires goes to the washer. I pulled the connector off because with the wiper switch it did nothing. No wipers at all, nothing. So I pulled that off of there, and I checked the center terminal of the 3, and I had 12 volts hot going to there. That comes straight from ignition hot, so that shot good. But the wiper switch wasn't giving me the grounds that I needed, so I jumped those grounds right there from the chassis ground to the terminals that required grounds, and the wiper motor worked. So it didn't work with the switch, but it worked that way. So I replaced my switch, ordered a new switch, AC Delco switch. It wasn't too expensive, and ordered the tool to install it. I don't know if you can tell there, but that tool's got 2 prongs, and all you need to do is right in the bottom there's a slot. You put a jeweler screwdriver in there, flat tip, and there's a little set screw. Loosen the set screw and pull this knob off of there, and then once the knob is off, then you can get this tool in there, and you can put a 3/8 drive ratchet in there, and then take off the little nut that holds that in there. So a little collar, take that nut off. You get this right tool, don't try to using needle nose pliers, you'll just make a mess. And at the back of this switch there's 2 electrical connectors, one on the top with 2 prongs on it, and one below with just 1 prong on it. So the switch just gives you your ground. The ignition switch gives you the 12 volts hot. So right now there's 12 volts hot, and that's going to go among other things to the wiper motor. So now the wiper motor's got 12 volts hot, and if I turn the knob 1 click, that gives me my low speed ground, and if I turn it 1 more click, that gives me high speed, and if I turn it a click counterclockwise, that's low speed, and 1 more click, that's park. Alright, so if I set this right here, I think we can see what's happening with the washer motor. We already looked in the last video, we looked at the wiper motor, and there's the washer motor. Alright, so that's not doing anything right now, but if I push the button to activate the washer motor, you can see what it's doing now. It's pulling that wheel. There you go. And then it pulls it to a certain extent and it just quits. So you push the button for your washer fluid. There's washer fluid pumping, 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 pumping. And then it stops. Alright, so I've got washer fluid in there, and I've got the hoses all hooked up, and nothing is coming out. So what that tells me is mechanically everything's working fine in my washer pump. Mechanically everything's working fine in my wiper motor. My problem then is going to be something like diaphragm related, rubber seal related inside the washer pump. So I'm going to have to get a rebuild kit for that. And then it's just 4 nuts to take off right there, and you can pull that apart and rebuild it. So that should be real easy. And then again, to put this into park, let's see, we'll put that back right there. And to put this into park, just turn the switch off. And there's park. So it works now. I've had this car 4 years, and finally the windshield wipers work. And I didn't have to remove the windshield wiper motor from the car to have it rebuilt. All I did was I pulled it apart right there the way it's sitting. There's a cover plate with 3 screws. I took that one off, and I was able to clean and lubricate the washer pump motor, and then the 4 outer screws along the outside, I took those off. Remember, one secures your ground, and that's important. You got to have a ground for it to work, a constant ground, not just the grounds that are controlled by your wiper switch. But pulling those off, as you saw in my last video, I was able to look at the actual mechanism for the wiper motors, as well as the mechanism that sets them in park. So they're in park right now, they're resting. It's all really simple, and this is all just stuff that I'm learning as I go. I've never torn into one before, but it wasn't too hard. I used brake clean to clean all the old grease off of that. Some of the grease was 52 years old and crusty. I cleaned all that crusty hard grease out of there and re-lubricated everything, mostly with WD-40, and then a little bit of white lithium grease in there to get things nice and lubricated. Actuated the park mechanism a few times, make sure that was nice and loose, and now it's good to go. There's high speed, and there's off. So that's that.